Good evening, everyone. I hope you all had an amazing long weekend, much needed after a very small range move on the indices. Um, all right. A couple of announcements. Firstly, it is our third year anniversary at Sniper Trades. Uh, Absolutely wonderful how long this journey has been and how wonderful it has been as well. Thanks to each and every one of you for making this happen. And like it's an amazing community of traders here. The second one is after our pilot program that we ran through last quarter about having education content and also having our weekend videos. We kind of split it up into two of 30 minutes each, right? So I will be posting out more education content with answering certain questions as to what to expect and how to trade and things like that on our YouTube channel, which will be which will be posted out later on as recorded videos midweek or later in the week, and our weekend calls, which will not be public anymore, which will be exclusive for our paid members, and that is what we have here today. So that's the second thing that I wanted to talk about. Please don't try to share these informative sessions outside our group. Let's keep the knowledge in here, and let's discuss a lot more up here. I don't want it to be shared outside. So those are the couple of announcements that I had, and without further ado, I want let's quickly go dive into our general way we conduct our calls. Firstly, we'll talk about our let me bring this up. All right, so let's just yeah. So, firstly, let's talk about our weekly seasonality. I talk about this every week. This is not a prediction of what's going to happen in the future. This is merely a statistic of the last 20 years basically since 1991. I pull out data for it, see how a particular day has worked out in the past, and this is how it kind of looks. 67% of the time, the first day of April looks to be like very strong start for Q2 of the year, and with Nasdaq up 67% of the time, S&P 67, and Dow also 67. Starting Monday. So any number above 60 and below 40 is something that I kind of take a little bit more seriously, and it looks Nasdaq looks like Nasdaq is very strong. You see Tuesday also 81, 76, and 76. So if we do see a dip later in the day on S&P, something that you want to swing for, probably you want to be in calls on Tuesday. I did post out a swing trade idea for this week as well. Tuesday being Intel's pump day, being it's also investors meeting on Tuesday for two, right? So they usually try to pump the stock up. So we'll probably swing some calls into Tuesday, make some money on Monday, swing some calls into Tuesday. We'll see what to do there. Wednesday we see a little bit of a weakness creeping into Dow, but Dow and S&P obviously not under 40% here. So Dow has been green 43% of the time, S&P has been green 48% of the time, Nasdaq was green 52% of the time. Obviously a little bit of a softening in the market that we are seeing on Tuesday, but then it's more of a choppy kind of a session that we can expect on Wednesday, after a strong opening Monday and Tuesday. Thursday the strength comes back, not into Nasdaq but into Dow and S&P, where so Wednesday, if we do see a major dip, that's where that Dow and S&P probably will be by the dip scenario, based of how the levels are holding. But Friday, obviously Nasdaq looks a lot soft, and probably a risk off scenario going to Friday, into NFP numbers as well. Kind of bodes well with what's happening in the past. As also, if you look into the weeks that we had the NFP numbers come out, we had a strong start for the week and then kind of fades off into the numbers, and a total sell off. I mean, a little bit of a sell off after the numbers is what has been the pattern for the NFP weeks. So keep an eye out for that. What I mean by NFP, non-farm payrolls, is what I'm talking about. Next one is the earnings calendar that we always look into. If there are any earnings that we want to look for, I really don't see anything on this calendar per se. Most of them are kind of irrelevant, or something that we do not trade much at all. So nothing much to see on the earnings calendar. But if you have any that you really want me to look into the flow, I'm happy to look out for that. But nothing really on focus for me this week on the flow, on the earnings calendar. Um, Next one we have uh, economic calendar. Here I'm looking into the Joel's job openings that comes out on 4/2. Not a huge impact on the market per se. This all obviously comes out after the market open. Also, it's not a huge impact, but then something to look out for. Kind of gives you a little bit of a sense on NFP as well. I mean, how good the job market is and things like that. So a little bit of a softening there might hint of a little bit of a weakness on the employment numbers as well. So keep an eye out for that. ADP employment change, we won't see much of an impact on that as well. It comes out pre-market, but the market really kind of moves. ADP employment change, that is something that you want to look out for. Be a little bit more careful on that front. But more importantly, obviously, there is Powell comes out on 4/3 at about noon, and that might be a little bit more impactful than the ADP numbers per se. ADP numbers, most impactful months are usually during the summer and the winter breaks, where we see big jumps or big drops, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a sense as to how the internship market is, and how much companies are willing to spend on interns and things like that as well. Because most of the time when you hire interns, you are trying to do some kind of an R&D, get things done cheap or things like that, right? So get things started and make a low cost effort kind of thing. And it kind of gives you a sense of, like, are companies willing to spend a little bit more on the R&D, or are they more focused on making money, and staying profitable per se, keeping up with the margins and things like that. So we can kind of get a sense of it. But right now, I don't think ADP numbers don't really matter much to me per se. But we'll see how the market kind of reacts to that. Last two times was not as good reaction per se. I mean, it really didn't matter. That's what I meant. But we'll keep an eye out for that number as well, which comes out pre-market. But more impactful, obviously, will be Powell, who has been extremely bullish, extremely dovish. I personally think I have already said this in the past, also in one of our weekend calls. I think they are they already have a sense of where and when to do a rate cut, and most of the numbers that they are seeing, they'll just lowball it or things like that, is what I think. And the first rate cut, obviously, they are anticipating to come out in June. And if at all we get a rate cut, I do think that it will be a sell the news kind of a scenario, where we might see a 10% correction into it. We'll probably see. But then, the other interesting aspect about what's happening right now with what Powell has said last week was, they are going to stop, or slow down balance sheet runoff significantly. It is in a certain aspect. I think it is also kind of hinting that they are not tightening as much, but they are. I mean, it's a form of easing, right? Like, if you are starting to not sell off your balance sheet, it's a sign of that they are slowing down, they're tightening, or they are loosening up a little bit on that monetary policy kind of sense. So more than rate cuts, I think this was a significant impact in the market, which I think the market kind of expected it, but then once he said that, that's where it kind of really loved what he said, and we had the thrust through. So a rate cut might be sell the news kind of a scenario. So keep an eye out for that on probably in June or August is what they June is what people are anticipating, or the market is anticipating already. So we'll probably know that later. Later during this quarter, maybe May is when Powell comes out again for with his FOMC notes and things like that. So we do see a couple of inflation reports before that. So we'll see what Powell will say in May. Is June the one where we will see a rate cut? And if it is June, June is usually a month that is known for the market weakness, right? So, you start hearing these slogans of sell in May, and go away and things like that, right? So we'll see what happens there. Next one of the major impacts this week, I probably think it's going to be non-farm payrolls and average hourly earnings. Non-farm payrolls, if they come in a little bit softer, might be a little bit more bearish for the market per se, but we'll have to see the market reaction also, and I do think non-farm payrolls is the one that brings the next move in the market, and looking at the history for the past 2 to 3 times, it has been fading the price. So we will follow the price, but based off how the market kind of looks pre-market on Friday. So keep an eye out for that. Those are my three main events that I'm looking out for this week, and hopefully we make hopefully we can follow through and get some good gains per se, right? Like I really don't want a market where we are seeing no follow throughs, where we see a nice bounce, but then the next day we kind of sell off, or we kind of sell off and then next day we kind of bounce, and it really damages the premiums on the weekly contracts that we generally try to swing. If there is no real momentum or so, I'll probably look for 2 to 3 weeks out swings or things like that. So keep an eye out for those three events this week, and we'll go from there. Next one, on the weekly time frame, let's talk indices. We'll start with SPY, then QQQ and IWM, and then we'll talk about trade ideas for the week, and our core list of companies and some patterns that we are looking at this week, and things like that. So firstly, let me talk about SPY. I want to talk about it on the monthly sense. It has been a while. Market really had a pullback, right? So where do we find a pullback? I really can't say where the top is, obviously, but I do think this where is that? Give me one moment. Let me pull up my, yeah, there you go. Okay, so I really can't tell you where the top is in the market, right? Like it can be here, it can be here, it can be at 550, or I really can't tell you. But what I think is kind of possible here is a retest of this previous all-time highs, right? Like, so how much is the move that we can see for the previous all-time highs, right? Like that is something that I want to measure. So let's see this one all the way up here, right? It's about 45 points. That is interesting. So let's see if we can, what is this pullback? This is about 10%, about 50 points. So a little bit higher than lower is what I kind of think. This retest of the previous all-time highs, like that is something that I'm expecting in the market at some point. I'm not saying we will see it this month. You see this 10% move down. This was an extremely painful move down for most bulls that have been long in 2023, where many people were talking about making a this being a lower high, we will be going for a lower low. You see what I'm talking about, right? Like this was the previous high, this was a lower high, and like they were talking about getting here to lower lows back to 300s on SPY. But this was clearly like a nice little bull flag that was forming. Once it broke out, it just rocketed, right? So what I am expecting here is market can't just keep going up. It has to retest at some point and then move back up. So basically what it's trying to do is create lower highs, higher highs and higher lows, right? So we are in the process of making a higher high, right? Like this is a monthly time frame. I'm not talking about our daily moves or things like that. This is a longer term picture as to how healthy the market looks right now. But a healthy market is how is something that kind of moves, like makes a low, makes a higher high, and then a higher low, and it basically runs like that, right? Like that's essentially what I'm thinking. So um, where is that higher high? I really don't know. But then looking at this previous correction of 10%, a 50-point move for about 3 months is not really bad. I mean, 50-point move down is not really bad. So, do we move to 550 here and then move down to 500 and then move back higher? That's a question to be answered. Or do we see some kind of a local top here? Probably the first half of April is pretty good actually. So maybe 530s might be in the card, and then we see a 50-point drop. That's where we see the previous all-time highs and bounce right back up, taking this as a support. Yet to be seen. And that is what I'm thinking, right? Like we will see that retest of 480 at some point, that 10% move, which will be extremely painful for the bulls who are chasing this uh, pops in the market for the last 3 months. Obviously the last quarter, right? So we'll have to see where we see the top, and if we do see some kind of a pattern as to seeing a strong downtrend, if we are seeing that bearish divergence that we are seeing on the daily time frame work out for the bears, once we see the RSI on the daily going under 50, once we see bear caps that are being sustained for over a week, that is our indication that we can start a downside move of about 10% down to retest this close to this previous all-time highs. Or maybe it can be like a little bit of a fake out, like how bulls kind of faked it out here, right? Like they tried to say like the chart tried to show you that there was a lower high, but then we bull flagged for about 3 months and then went back higher. We probably will see some kind of a similar action here, where we probably will see a move lower, probably not even coming closer to 480, but more closer to 500, and then move back higher. Which kind of gives you, most people will give you a sense of, oh, we probably will see 480, 20 more points, but then, the market kind of reverses at close to 500 itself, and you'll never see the previous all-time highs at all. So that is what I'm kind of expecting on the monthly time frame. These views in no way are actionable. I'm just giving you a possible scenario for the rest of the year maybe. So this is basically the monthly chart. So don't try to make any executable decisions based of this, based on what I just said. But here we have a weekly chart just going higher. Like there's nothing that I can derive of this. Absolutely stunning as to how we are moving higher here. Every inside candle has broken back higher also. I mean, nothing really that I can talk about here. But here on the daily time frame, we are still in that channel that we've been talking about. I can probably, let me see if I can draw this channel too. Nah, this is not worth it. Yeah, this is the right channel that we can talk about, because every touch here, right? Like every touch here we did see a reversal, very strong reversal, strong reversal, strong reversal. So probably we want to see this channel being broken down, right? Like we probably will need to see 517 ish kind of breaking down. That's when we'll probably see a little bit of a stronger move towards 512, 508, and 504. Actually 508 has a strong support here as well. So we will probably see that strong break to the downside once we see this trend line, lower trend line break. The upper trend line seems to be like a strong resistance as well. Every single time we touched that, we did see quite a bit of reversal there, here as well. So last week was one of those weeks that we did not touch either of these trend lines, but this week probably will be the one that we will touch it. And I was talking to someone on Thursday or Wednesday. It is very interesting that people are actually buying calls for 530 into September. I did see 580 calls being bought into December. I mean, I'm not in the boat of calling for 580 this year at all. At max, what I can see right now is 560. That is possible in Q3 or Q4, early Q4. But 580 is way out of reach. That's what I think. But 530 is probably something that you can look out for on this rising trend line here. Probably we will come close to 530 here on SPY, and it looks pretty good right now, holding that channel. Once the channel is lost is when you can probably play puts to the downside, and the move will be quite swift when it does move down. So keep an eye out for that on SPY on the daily time frame. Now let's dive into the 65-minute time frame, where we basically look for gaps and also what's happening in the market. Very executable trend lines, and for our day trading and weekly trading in general. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Like, this is a shooting star candle, which I kind of did not like on Friday, on Thursday, sorry. Friday was a holiday, but like, this was a sideways chop move entire day, and then it thrusted through in the last hour, but then I was not feeling that thrust. uh, that's when it kind of got slammed back down as well, but then we did not lose 523. The next targets here, basically I'm looking at 525, 528, and 530 to the upside. Obviously these are the upsides that can happen after NFP, but uh, for you to for you to be executable on this, is if you see a candle which is a break and close. Let's say we open up here, we close up here, right? Like, we see a candle that breaks this trend line, breaks and closes this trend line, then we can probably look for an early week target at 525 and then 528 above. But losing this particular trend line here, that can give way to this bull gap being closed and 51750 being retested earlier in the week. Obviously, Powell is important, who comes out on Wednesday. Wednesday is what we talked about, yeah. And NFP, these are your two important ones that you want to look out for. Any kind of break under 51750, there will be a quick size down move towards 514, 515. So these are your two levels that you want to look out for. The first one is the bull gap fill, and then 51750. These are your two levels that you want to look out for earlier in the week, and I'll give you a midweek update again, and we'll talk more about it. But these are your two levels you want to look for on the downside, and to the upside you want to see 525 and 528. 5232, this trend line, you'll probably see a little bit of a chop, and you don't want to look for SPX plays per se between them. But if we are seeing some kind of a move down under 523, I'll probably try to play some 0-day SPX based on the 15-minute time frame. But otherwise, these are the levels that I'll be looking out for on SPY this week. Next one is let's talk about QQQ. QQQ here we have an inside day. Very interesting. Um, yeah, I mean it's been choppy. I'll say that. Let me see if I can draw some trend lines here. Valid trend line. Yeah, that's a valid trend line. Let's see if we can make this a valid one too. I think it looks forced. Nope. So let's see if we can find some more trend lines which are valid. This looks okay because we did come down and then we had a strong reversal of it. Uh, but we need a third point of test. So this is not a valid trend line per se, the down one, but the upside trend line looks legit. If we do see a break above 446 earlier in the week, we did talk about Nasdaq being strong the first 4 days of the week. So if we do see a move above and break above this trend line and above 446 as a horizontal level here, we'll probably see 450. That is, yeah, 447, 446, 447.20. There's a little bit here as well, but we'll probably see 450 on QQQ. So this is the upside trend line is something that you want to look out for. If we do see a drop, the downside trend line, keep an eye out for that. It's not a valid trend line yet. If we do see a drop under 443. No, we need, yeah, this is a chop zone. You don't want to trade between 443 to 440. 440 seems to have a bit of support, right? Like you did see some good support here. Nice reversal, tested it, broke out. Yeah, 443, 443, 440, and 436. These are your three levels that you want to look out for on the downside. Anything to the upside, you want to see a break and hold off 446, which opens up 450 and 454. I don't see 454, but 450 is probably possible on QQQ on the break of this trend line here. So keep an eye out for that. Next one is IWM. This one is something that I wanted to look at. I haven't looked at this one for a bit. All right, so this is a very nice move. Yeah, so we did bounce off the trend line and then we had a reject of 209, went right back down to 205. After a retest of 205, we did have a very nice crazy bounce Wednesday and Thursday. Actually, Wednesday and Thursday. Oh, that's very interesting because let me look at QQQ. Give me one moment, guys. Yeah, so QQQ did not do much, but IWM, relative strength, relatively good volume as well. Yeah, increasing volume, very low volume here, increasing volume here, very low volume on the retest, and then we bounce right back up. Obviously a shooting star, but needs to be validated on the daily time frame. So yeah, any retest of 209, I think that should hold on on IWM. Obviously there is a pretty big bet, I think $1 million bet that came out on IWM on Thursday. I think that is a hedge. That's one of the reason why I did not talk much about it when we did see the flow. Need to see what happens to IWM if it can hold 209. I mean, I'll talk about a couple of companies as well where I'm seeing some bullishness. AFRM, CHWY. These are a couple of companies that I don't really trade, but I was looking at them and they look pretty good as well. But I don't think they're part of the index. But then these small cap companies, right? So I was looking at them a little bit. But yeah, 212 there was a reject. 209 must hold this week, or there's a chance of seeing 205 fairly very quickly on IWM this week. But if 209 can hold, we go back to 212 and 214. Nice couple of days on IWM. We'll keep volume on watch. that can be a big indication earlier in the week. If we do see like 209, a couple of red candles like this with very low volume, you see this here on the downside, and we are holding on to 209. We'll probably play the bounce to 212 to 215 here on IWM. So keep an eye out for those two levels, 209, 209, 205 to the downside, 212 break is 214 to 215 on IWM. Yeah, we'll have to see the volume patterns on here before we can take a good size trade again. IWM has been extremely kind to us last year and early this year. So if you all remember those swings that we did into CPIs, so it's been a great index for us, but haven't traded much of IWM in the last month and a half. Yeah, this was a good trade on Wednesday. I don't know how I missed that, but anyway, I think we did quite a bit on Wednesday, so it's fine. So yeah, keep an eye out for IWM. These are your levels to look out for. Next one is Apple. Apple. What was that on Apple that I wanted to talk about? Okay, there you go. On the weekly time frame, this is something that I was looking at. So on the weekly time frame, I know Apple has a developer conference coming up in summer, where they are ready to come up with a lot of AI announcements. If you all remember about a year back when Apple was talking. Most of their Apple events, we were talking about how Apple was using the term machine learning, which kind of translates into AI, but then they were basically using the term machine learning, and now suddenly they are talking about AI, right? Like they don't talk about machine learning per se. So they know the importance of the term now, I guess, and when Apple kind of does that, I think there will be a lot of buying opportunity once we start to see the break of this particular wedge on the weekly time frame. So if you see, most of the time when we see these falling wedges on Apple, it has translated to quite a bit of a significant move, which basically gives way to, let's say, in about a month. So yeah, in about a month, about a 14%, a 13% move. So we haven't not seen the break yet. So once we see that break on Apple, a 13% move, yeah, I mean, we are looking at close to 200 again, right? So keep an eye out for that break of the upper trend line on the weekly time frame. On the daily, I mean, it definitely looks bearish, right? Like you can probably call this head and shoulders as well, where you have the head, you have the shoulder, you have another shoulder here. Obviously, the neckline is under the 170 region, where if we do drop under 170, I'll probably look for 165s on Apple. But then that's what we are seeing on the daily time frame. So if you're looking at the weekly time frame, obviously it's a month out swing or things like that, and there is a bit of a downside move that is also possible, right? Like we are not really at the bottom end of the lower trend line. So yeah, I mean, if we do see a move down under I mean close to 165s, that's where I'll be selling some CSPs. This has been something that I've talked about earlier in earlier in January as well, right? Like when Apple was basically trading at around 190s. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this move again whenever we are closer to the WWDC conference, where they will be talking about AI. 165, that's where I'll be looking out for selling some CSPs, cash secured puts, for buying some shares also somewhere around the 160 region. CSPs, I'll be selling them at the 160 for 160 for 3 or 4 months out. I'll probably buy some shares as well, which will average down if we do see a break of 160. Right now, the news has been extremely negative on Apple, with some headwinds from China. We did see they're trying to like partner with Google's AI Gemini for their AI apps and things like that to integrate it into the Apple iPhone. I do think it's part of the agenda that they have to work around the monopoly that they have, that the FTC has open investigation on. So we'll see what happens. Right now it looks like a little mini Head and Shoulders that we are seeing. If we do see on the daily time frame, let's see, if we do see a break of yeah if we do see a break of this trend line here, which is basically the neckline also. So we'll probably see 168. Right, what is the measured move here from the neckline to the head, right? So 5 points from 170, so 165.50, 165. So yeah, that's something that I'm looking out for on the breakdown of this trend line here on Apple, and we'll probably figure out what to do there. So keep an eye out for that. Inside day on Friday as well. So a big size measured move is possible. 174 or 168. Which one comes first? I really don't know. Comprehensions are not bullish, but they are bullish for option players, because you will see a sizable move in the market where you can catch a move to make some good money. Also on Friday, something that I've noticed is the premiums have come down quite a bit. So they will be executable on Monday. I believe there is some kind of a if we can catch the right move, we can make some good money there. So keep an eye out for that. Next one is AMD. Anything to the upside, you would probably need 185 to break to see 190 and 192 and 198. Nice compression that's going on AMD, honestly. Can we draw some trend lines here? Let me see. Oh yeah, that's a valid trend line. Nice bounce here, then comes right back down. Very nice bounce, and then comes right back down. Is this kind of? So let's see the previous bounce. We did see about 13%, came right back down, and then we saw a 40% move of this trend line, right? So yeah, this one is like a 3% move. Oh no, 6% move. So yeah, I mean, I really don't know. Yeah, if this trend line kind of breaks down, that's when you'll be more cautious. Right now, the risk reward obviously skewed to the upside, staying above the trend line, and probable retest of this trend line is a nice way to play these calls. Keep an eye out for this trend line here. If we do see a break and close under the trend line on the daily, that's your cue to get out. So like if we do see that's your stop loss as well if you're trying to swing something like AMD. Yeah, 174, 175 retest is not bad. That's where I would probably pick some calls with the stop loss under the trend line on the daily, or 174 level basically, as your stop loss, to if you are in calls and you want to switch to puts, or you are willing to play puts on AMD thinking that it is bearish. You probably would want to look for a break and close under 174 to target 170, 168 to 165. So 165, 164. So yeah, these are your levels that you want to look out for on the downside if you are interested in puts. But right now it looks pretty okay. I mean, as long as this trend line holds, it looks bullish. Next one is Amazon, 185, 183.20 and 185. These are your two levels to the upside. I'm not interested in the downside plays on Amazon. 185 calls about 2 to 3 weeks out is probably a good play here. We did break out. This is a peekaboo move, closed above as well, and it's a strong move. It looks pretty good. Let me take a look on the weekly time frame as well. Oh, interesting. So yeah, 185 definitely in the books on Amazon. Let me look at the monthly. Very interesting. So all this consolidation broke down. Let me remove this completely. It's been a while I looked at the monthly chart on Amazon, but yeah, it looks like a nice clean cup that has formed. Maybe a sideways move and then a breakout. That would be even better. because I have some covered calls on Amazon for December. So I want them to decay as much as possible. I sold them on the earnings pop, so I'm not really concerned about it. But yeah, we still haven't seen like all-time highs on Amazon. So 188 is possible. Every other stock did its all-time high, so Amazon is getting there. Let's see. 188s are in the cards. We did break out, so 185 this week is a very valid bet for me, from what I see. So keep an eye out for that. This compression move to the upside, 185 is the target on Amazon. uh, um, ARM inside day. Was Amazon an inside day? No, it's not. ARM with a nice inside day. We got a very nice move on ARM here on Wednesday. Actually, Tuesday into Wednesday. Thursday we didn't have any position, so that's fine. But I mean, nice little compression move. What happened in the previous compression moves on ARM? How does it work? So here's a compression move where we did see some kind of a inside day, broke down, another compression move, broke up. So this was a double inside day. Actually made it. Oh my goodness! Most of the time, yeah, it's a mixed bag. We can't really say what way it's trying to break, but we'll keep an eye out for this lower trend line. If this lower trend line breaks and closes under, we'll probably swing some puts on ARM, targeting close to 117. So probably if we are seeing that earlier in the week, right, like on Monday or Tuesday, we'll probably look for 115 puts. Otherwise, just going to stay away. If 128, yeah, if 128 breaks, we can see 136. Yeah, if I'm more interested in this trend line break, though, the selling can be intense on ARM because their IPO, the lockdown period has also expired. So I'm going to look out for that on ARM here. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously running out of time as well, but I'll try to go after as many tickers as possible. The other one here is CrowdStrike, very strong name on the cyberspace, obviously another inside day, and this one broke down. So on tomorrow, if we do see a bounce back to this trend line, we'll probably look for put swings on here if we can't close above the trend line. But this one looks like it's broken down, and the break of 321 probably can see 307 in the week. So keep an eye out for this name. If you are seeing weakness in the market, CrowdStrike is one of the stocks that you can probably play 310 puts on 20 point. I mean, it's a decent sized move towards 307. So 310 put is something that you can be looking out for on CrowdStrike. Next one is Goldman Sachs. This one broke out, retested, and broke out again, and moved higher. We tried to catch the move, but then there was this 410 that acted as resistance, and then we were holding on to the position, obviously because this trend line was not broken, and we could get out of the position at break even, which is totally fine. I don't mind it at all, but could have added more position here on the retest, but then the next day was an inside day, which would have shaken us out if we were sized really big on the position. So I'm happy how we kind of executed it overall, based off how we kind of position onto it and things like that. But if 420 retest 420 test is looking quite possible. Above that, we can move to 425 and 434. This was one of my favorite stocks into Powell as well. I really thought 420 would be in the cards earlier this week. So let's see if that happens, and we can very, very hard stock to play. Goldman Sachs, I remember, was not like this, but it has been quite weirdly moving for some time now. So all this consolidation, this consolidation break should take it to 450, but then it's moving like how like this. So we'll probably have to see swings for like 3 to 4 weeks out maybe. I'll keep an eye out for those contracts as well on Goldman Sachs, looking really really good. Next one is Intel broke out of the falling wedge. This upper trend line is not something that is valid. I just drew that there for a potential target or retest of 47 level this week. You have a pump day with an investor conference on 4/2 for Intel. So 47 is my target for this week. If it can move, this one moves like a slug, but if we can see a break above 45.40, and recently all Intel events have been pump days. So keep an eye out for that level at 45.40, and then we can probably move to 47. Next one is Meta. Meta is another one, the stock that kind of broke down. Probably a retest of this trend line at around 492, but then I do see a possibility of 475 in the cards on Meta. If we see market weakness, this is the stock that you want to look out for to play the downside. Next one is Netflix. Netflix is another one that kind of broke down. If we do see a breakdown under 600, there's a quick drop to 590 and 580. 580 retest is what I'm kind of expecting if we do see a 600 breakdown, but keep an eye out for this one as well to the downside if there is market weakness. Nvidia, we did take a position on this on Friday. Premiums got absolutely destroyed. Even like the stock is exactly at where we bought the contract for, but then the premiums were destroyed. We do an inside day on Friday. Obviously, I am expecting a bigger size move on Nvidia. I don't know or can time the what we call that, the split news or anything that can come up, but Nvidia, there is a lot of good news that is going on with the company. So I when there was that inside day, I was like, okay, you know what, I can it's a 2% portfolio position, so I can probably swing this position also, given that how we caught snow. These were also 2% positions, so they were more than 100% gains. So just put some gain in here, and we'll see what happens. Earlier in the week, I do want to see a 930 break. If 930 is broken, 955, 975 are the two levels that you can probably see on Nvidia to the upside. If Nasdaq is going to be strong, I think Nvidia is the one that needs to bounce. So keep an eye out for Nvidia. Next one is Tesla. Tesla, I think like it's not an inside day. Amazon strong, Tesla kind of weak, discretionary flat. So consumer, anyway, 175 break is what you want to see on Tesla. 175 break opens up 170 and 165 here on Tesla. So that's the level that you want to look out for to play the downside. We have delivery numbers coming out for Tesla for Q1, which were expected to be bad. I think that's the sell the news that's been happening. We probably have to see what's going on here, and 185 might be in the cards if we do see a bounce of 175. No trade zone for me on Tesla right now, so that's what I have. Last but not the least, I do want to talk about Square Cash, another stock that is looking extremely good with this pennant formation. This one moves with Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin can move into having, if we can move to 80k, I think Square Cash can move to 90 and 100. A lot of call positionings that are happening into its earnings for Q1. So keep an eye out for this stock. I think there's a bit of a move towards 90 and 90ish. If you want to pick up some shares, it's totally fine too. But definitely try to sell some covered calls at 90. Looking really good, really nice compression. Also an inside day on Friday, so can expect a nice sizable move above 85 here on SQ. So yeah, that's all I have for this week. I will be back on chat earlier in the morning tomorrow with a pre-market notes. I hope the session was informative and you kind of loved it. Let me know if you have any feedbacks, but that's all I